fun one. So y'all know we've been covering here what's been going on in Fulton County now that this election interference case against Donald Trump has been dropped. Fani Willis taking another L. Haven't heard an official statement from her yet now that this has been dismissed, other than her saying, well, of course nobody wanted to take this because they're all scared. Apparently Fani Willis is the only brave one. We'll get into that in a second. Now, since this case has been dismissed, the attorneys who were involved in defending the President Donald Trump, then at the time running for president, now they want to get paid. They want their money, and they're saying, we don't care who pays us, whether it's Fani Willis, whether it's the federal government, whether it's Fulton County, we want to get our money. And we're going to hear from Steve Sadow, who was one of the main attorneys and an excellent attorney that participated in this indictment and this entire debacle of this election interference case. And he's going to talk about what he believes and what he thinks about the dismissal and how he's about to get his money, because this man's going to get paid.
Was there a time from 2023 until now where you realized this isn't going anywhere?
In the sense of not going anywhere, you mean the prosecution itself? I thought that there was a real problem with the prosecution once my client was elected president in 2024.
Yep.
That pretty much cinched it for me, and I figured at that point, in some form or fashion, it would go away. But to be perfectly candid, after Fani Willis's performance in the courtroom in early winter of 24, it was so poorly done, and the issue of disqualification was so clear, I thought it was just a matter of time until she was gone. When she was gone, I figured no one else would take this case.
I want to get back to Ms. Willis in just a second, but I do want to ask you, when this all came down, did you speak to the president? Did he say anything that was of note just about this whole process?
I'd like to recite my conversations with my client, but I'm really not permitted to do that. So let's just say that he was happy and felt it was about time.
Thank you for that. I do want to get back to District Attorney Fani Willis. If you could ask her a question about how she handled the case, what would you ask her?
Why she didn't take into consideration all the meritorious, substantive points that were made even before I got involved in the case, and why, while I think she always tries to exercise good judgment, it was so poorly done here with her affair with the prosecutor that she appointed to handle the case. I'd like to know how in the world she thought that would be justifiable, or did she think it was just going to remain a secret forever?
Yeah, well, I can tell you how. She went to the White House. She spoke with, let's just say, in theory, Kamala Harris, at the time, the vice president, and was like, hey, we need to make this happen. We need to figure this out. And Fani Willis said, all right, I'm on a mission from the White House. Let's go ahead and get it done. Maybe she thought she was invincible. Fani's not going to answer that question.
And I imagine this is not the first time you've worked with District Attorney Fani Willis.
No, I represented Gunna in the RICO case in which he was permitted to enter a very, very favorable plea for resolution. So we dealt with her on that, and I dealt with her earlier than that. This was just surprisingly out of character for her.
Why so?
Because I think she has a good head on her shoulders, and I think it just somehow got displaced. I think her political ambition, her thoughts of going against a former president of the United States overrode her judgment.
Now, there's some people who look at this case now being dismissed as justice not served. Some people feel that the president and his co-defendants listed did deserve some type of punishment. What is your message to them?
This case was won on many levels. Ultimately, of course, it was dismissed by the judge upon motion of the new prosecutor. But people tended to judge this case without knowing all the evidence, without seeing any of the witnesses. And to be perfectly honest, they just don't understand that the mere fact that someone exercises their First Amendment right to speak or says something that they're in disagreement with doesn't give rise to a criminal prosecution, particularly against the former president of the United States. It's just not a situation we should find ourselves in.
I agree.
Looking ahead, this case is dismissed. We do know that Georgia recently passed a law that went into effect this year, allowing defendants in certain election-related cases to recoup legal fees if the prosecutor is disqualified from the case. In this case, Fani Willis was disqualified.
As they should.
You and other attorneys said that you plan to seek those fees. Do you know how much you will be planning to seek?
Millions of dollars.
In the millions. According to campaign finance data, that lines up with how much was given, paid for through a different PAC or the clients themselves. Is there a ballpark? Are we talking 1 million? Are we talking 10 million? I know that I believe I saw a number of 2.7 from one PAC. Is there any other idea of what amount of money exactly would come from it? And do you feel that the taxpayer in Fulton County should be responsible for paying that?
Well, that's a very broad question, so I'll answer it in part. First, my expectation is that for President Trump, the amount of attorney's fees and costs could run close to $5 million. Now you have to take into account the other 15 defendants who ultimately will seek their attorney's fees as well. It would surprise me if that didn't rise $5 million or more. So you're talking $10 million? That's the answer to one part. Second part.
Fulton County, y'all ready to pay that? I know I'm not. Dang. I know this is all a part of the process, but I mean, if we didn't have some say, which I guess we did by majority of us here in Fulton County voting Fani Willis in, if we didn't have a say in this being brought, man, why we got to pay for this? Y'all got to do better. Can the people who voted for Fannie pay for this? I don't want to pay for it.
This money that goes to attorney's fees and costs comes out of Fani Willis's budget. It's already been allotted. Taxpayers aren't paying anything in addition. It's unfortunate that her budget will be so affected, but she's the one that brought the case, and she's the one that has to live with the outcome.
Do you believe, some argue that the $10 million...
Before we finish this question, that's a great point and a great call out by Steve Sadow. It'll come out of Fannie's budget. We talked about the budget and the amount Fani Willis is expected to get moving forward. It's going to be probably close to a third of what her budget is, which is going to be interesting to see how that plays out and how that affects the DA's office moving forward. But yeah, if this gets settled and if they figure this out within the next year, Fani Willis and her budget for the DA's office is going to be hurt.
In addition, it's unfortunate that her budget will be so affected, but she's the one that brought the case, and she's the one that has to live with the outcome.
Yep.
Do you believe, some argue that the $10 million that would be coming out of her budget, potentially $10 million, we don't know what the judge will weigh in on that, to go, could be used for other resources, such as bringing those who have been waiting in jail cases and just other things that she would need. She says, I believe in another interview with the outlet Capital B, that she needs more people to process these cases. She needs more money to do that. So some see this payment could go to helping them get those different cases out of Rice Street, et cetera. What is your comment on that?
What?
If she had exercised good judgment to begin with, we wouldn't be in this situation. She paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to her lover, Nathan Wade, somewhere in the neighborhood of $700,000 plus. Who knows how much from her budget she spent for other investigation, for other attorneys.
Yep.
All of that could be used for the very purpose that you're outlining. So her decision not to do so and to waste it on this, again, as I characterized it, political persecution, is why the money is going where it is. I would love to see her do something with her office and change some of those policies and practices so that people that are sitting in jail get reached earlier. But again, I think political ambition controlled, not common sense.
So you say it's on, if people have a question, that you're saying, look at Fani Willis, don't look at us.
Not only am I saying that, but they re-elected her in 2024.
Don't remind us, Steve.
There's really no one to blame. But
hey, shout out to Courtney Kramer, man. We got to make some changes. Why'd y'all vote Fannie in again? Dang. We tried to get Courtney Kramer up in there. Nobody else wanted to run against Fannie. Fannie won, what was it, 68%, I believe she did. So the people are just moving forward.
Themselves for putting her back in office. They could have drawn the line right there. They chose not to. But
also, Fannie's budget going into the next year is, I just looked up the number because I couldn't remember what I said. Yes, that 10 million plus would be a third of her budget. The budget Fani Willis has that the Board of Commissioners gave her in Fulton County is about $39 million. Not looking great.
But I think this boils down to you either like President Trump or you don't. And whatever the outcome is, if it's pro-Trump, pro-President Trump, you're going to like it if you're on his side. If not, you're going to be unhappy with whatever happens for whatever the reason may be.
Thank you for your answer for that. Staying on this kind of like looking ahead, I know that you all have a time period, I believe a 45-day window to file to, and correct me if I'm wrong because you're the lawyer here, I'm just the journalist.
No, you're right,
45-day window to say that we are coming for these fees. What happens next, and when do you expect to hear from, I believe, Judge Scott McAfee that will be making a decision on how much money will be paid from her budget?
Yeah, we have to file something in the form of a petition within 45 days. It will certainly be responded to. The only question becomes by whom. That's an open question. We don't know.
Okay.
Whether it would be the prosecutor's counsel, whether it would be the Fulton County in general, or someone from the Fulton County District Attorney's Office.
Okay.
We don't know. Ultimately, Judge McAfee will decide if what we are petitioning for is fees and costs, attorney's fees and costs, is reasonable, and he'll make the ultimate decision. But the statute is so new, never been used before, so there's no certainty in how it will be procedurally handled.
This is the first true test of it.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, we will certainly see. I want to just kind of get back into just a little bit of insight into the case. Is there something that the public never saw, either behind closed doors or something that you saw the writings on the walls that surprised you in your career as a defense attorney?
I'm not sure I can answer that question as framed. There are many things that the public doesn't know that can be found in the discovery, can be found in statements that defense lawyers are aware of.
Yep.
Also, information through investigation that probably will never make the light of day. Surprise-wise, to be honest, no, because I've handled high-profile cases for a long time and have learned that the deeper you dig into them, the more you find out. It's not really surprising. It's just a question of getting to the bottom or trying to get to the basic fundamental facts.
Yeah, and Steve knows there was a lot going on behind the scenes that we said. Andre Dickens, Fannie Willis going to the White House, who Fannie Willis met with, the indictment coming out and being dropped shortly after Fannie Willis makes this visit to the White House. People talk, and especially with it being about the president of the United States now, 45, 47, we know something was going on there. There's no coincidences. These people talk, and Fannie Willis wasn't going to the White House just for some event. So there's a lot that could be said here that I know Steve's not going to be able to get into, but I'm looking forward to hearing more information about this. If y'all want to check out this full interview, I'll leave the link to it in the description for you. Let me know what you think about this in the comments and in the chat. When it comes to Fannie Willis, how is this going to play out? We've heard reported that she could possibly get a break in some sense, and Steve Sadow and a lot of the other attorneys could be paid by federal or by Fannie Willis. It's most likely looking like, since Scott McAfee, Judge McAfee, is going to make a ruling on this, that she may have to pay that out of her budget, which would be a significant amount. I'm sure they would come up with some type of agreement. Interesting stuff here. Let me know what y'all think in the comments in the